more you prepare and the earlier you prepare, the more enjoyment and the more you're going to take out of the experience. And everyone is there for a reason, I guess, and sort of learning about these different people and why they chose to do the Camino just sort of helps you to resonate on what the Camino is there for. So someone told me eat, sleep, walk. That's all you do. It's just eat, sleep, walk. And it stuck with me because it just was an interesting concept for what the Camino was. And then doing something like the Camino where you listen to different people's voices and what they have to say, and recognizing the value of actually listening to people.
Hello, pilgrims. This is Efrain from the Way to Your Wife podcast, and today we have here Dan. He has been studying liberal arts. He already graduated. He has a master on liberal arts. He's gonna start a new job, and also he went to Galicia. And when he was in Galicia, he was being there as a professor, English professor. And he returned back to UK, and after staying a little bit there, so he decided to walk the Camino del Norte. So we're going to be talking to him about that experience, and then he will let us know about that. So hello, Daniel. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thanks. So tell me, how did you decide to walk the Camino del Norte?
Well, yeah, so as you said, I was teaching English as a English language assistant in Galicia, in Vigo. And sort of, so Vigo is on the Portuguese coastal route. So sort of seeing the shells, seeing people walk through, sort of gained interest, I guess, in learning more about what the Camino was, because it's not really a well-known thing in the UK, I suppose. So sort of learned what it was. And yeah, whenever I leave a place, I guess I kind of like doing something that is sort of a memorable challenge to sort of end my time there. So I thought, what better thing to do than to walk the Camino? So yeah, I decided to walk the Camino del Norte.
Okay, and as a first Camino, why you pick the Camino del Norte instead of Frances, that is the more well-known?
I was interested in the Frances one, but I guess with the Camino del Norte, there was a couple things. So there's less pilgrims on it. So I kind of liked that you'd get more solitude along the walk. It's basically walking along the coast. So I kind of thought that I'd prefer to walk along the sort of coast, see the sort of different beaches, rock formations, cliffs, and just see the coast rather than sort of walking through the fields of the Frances. And I also had my dad join for the first week, and then a friend join for the second week, and then I went by myself. So I guess the Norte kind of has better connections for people to sort of come in and out, because you've got San Sebastian, Bilbao, Santander. So I just thought in terms of airlines that could fly to the UK, there's a couple more sort of accessibility, I'd say, than the Frances.
Okay, how long does it take to do the whole Camino?
So it took me 30 days. So it was the month of June. And then I actually arrived a little bit ahead of schedule in Santiago. So booked a couple nights in a hostel, and then sort of just just walked around, enjoyed myself, and sort of got to see the sights of Santiago.
Okay, and when you walk this Camino, do you stay in all the stays were in albergues, hostels, or how were you stay?
So with my dad and my friend, we kind of stayed in a couple more sort of hotels, apartments that we could book in advance, just because they wanted I guess they wanted to know that they had somewhere to stay at night. When it was just me, I sort of embraced a little bit more of a pilgrim lifestyle, I guess.
Okay.
And it's committed to the albergues. Although I'm not sure I'd say how long I enjoyed the sort of lifestyle of waking up and just sort of finding out where I'd end up. I quite liked knowing exactly where I was heading every day and knowing exactly where I was going. So I guess it's one of the things that you learn as you're walking. But for me, I kind of preferred to maybe book something in the morning,
Okay.
or stay in a place where I knew that there was, or sort of even if you just sort of ring up in advance and sort of
Okay.
reserve, they're quite lenient with doing that. Obviously, there are some places, especially in Galicia, where you don't have the same accessibility to do that, but it's all part of the course.
Yeah, and you're very young, so you can explore all that experience without no issues.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when you were staying on those albergues, what was the biggest albergue where there were a lot of people sleeping on the same room? How many people were there? Do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, albergues, I suppose they vary, don't they? From you can get some where there's like 10 people, some where there's 100. There's one I feel, I mean, you have to mention it for the Camino del Norte in Güemes, so just before Santander. It's run by this priest called Father Ernesto, and it's definitely a highlight for the sort of Camino del Norte. And it's one of those things that if you research the Camino del Norte, it will be bound to appear in research because everyone talks about it. That had 100 people
Okay.
capacity. The night that we were there were about 64. So obviously it varies sort of during seasons, and every sort of day to day it varies the numbers of people that go. But yeah, that was a very, very special and unique albergue, and I would definitely look into it if you're planning to do the Camino del Norte.
Yeah, I have heard about him, and we have been actually being communicated back and forward through email because I have him on my radar to be interviewed in the podcast,
Okay.
and but we have not been finding a time yet. But yes, several people have talked me about him, and I don't know if you have read that, but in his website about the albergue, he mentioned something like for him, the Camino. The Santiago is like the university of life. I don't know
Yeah,
if you have.
yeah, that's kind of his motto. I mean, staying at that albergue is really interesting because he invites you for a pilgrim welcome meeting when you get there, and he delivers it in Spanish and then sort of asks everyone to help to translate. So anyone that can sort of learn Spanish and things. So I was actually there with a couple English language assistants. So I didn't participate, but they were the ones that translated it. But his speech is all about community and I guess the values of the Camino. So sort of connecting with people, talking to people, and it's all about that. And so he sort of proved to that point through asking everyone else to sort of help translate and relay the speech to everyone. But yeah, his motto is definitely the Camino being the University of Life. He likes to repeat that one quite a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah, and then being the Norte, I have heard the Camino del Norte is one of the difficult caminos.
Yeah.
It's not like the Camino is easy, but that's the North is one of the more difficult. Like the same like the Primitivo. And what would you say about that statement?
I'd say it's definitely true. The first week, so sort of from Irun to Bilbao, is definitely the hardest couple of days. So it's a hard start to a pilgrimage. It also is a hard start when you're sort of doing it with your dad, and I'm not sure exactly that he was expecting it to be so hard. But the first couple of days it's just sort of up and down mountains, which I suppose
Okay.
is what Basque County is famous for. Um, but it was definitely hard. I think it does sort of mellow out a little bit, sort of throughout Asturias and Cantabria, and then in Galicia again, you do face some hills. But I think the the beauty that you mentioned of the Camino helps to distract you from
Okay.
some of the sort of more difficult terrain because it is constantly changing and it's you just get distracted by sort of how captivating it is.
Okay. And how about is it very well signed that Camino, or you may get easily lost?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, this is my first Camino, so I wasn't really sure, I guess, what I was expecting in terms of the signs, but it is no joke when they say that the signs are everywhere and it is hard to get lost because it is really sort of every couple of steps there's another little yellow arrow that just helps you on your way.
Okay. Wow, I didn't know that the Camino del Norte was like well signed like the other ones as well.
I think they've definitely improved it because obviously I mean, every Camino is getting more popular, but I think the attraction of the beauty of the Norte is definitely making it more popular, and so they've kind of got to increase the signs, I guess, to keep up with that.
I guess that you probably have a lot of very nice views from the mountains to the ocean. Am I correct?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and even in some of the city, sort of the bigger cities as well, going through Santander and Bilbao were really nice as well. So it is,
Okay.
you do get to see different terrains and sort of rural and urban areas.
Okay. And in the whole Camino, during the whole Camino, do you have an idea how many people do you met?
Not nearly as much as you would on the Frances, because obviously with the Camino del Norte, the last 2 days as you walk into Santiago, you join the Frances, and it was a massive shock after sort of 3.5, 4 weeks of walking, sort of seeing the same people every day, but sort of about I guess maybe 20 maximum every day. You really didn't see that many people along the way.
Okay.
So going from that to then the joining the Frances, where it is sort of people in front of you, people behind you, and just sort of the whole way, all day, just this constant stream of pilgrims, definitely sort of makes for a change. I think I stayed in an albergue somewhere where, obviously, because they keep records, I think they said that there were about 100 and 150 people on the Norte at that time that I was doing it,
Okay.
which are a lot less than what the sort of average numbers are for the Frances.
Okay. And what time of the year do you walk the Camino?
So this was in June, so I guess it was might have just been just slightly before the sort of the big season started.
Again, it was really hot or not?
It was hot. I mean, I tended to get up early in the mornings to sort of avoid the sun, but also I quite liked the ritual of getting up, sort of catching the sunrise, and then being at my next albergue, so sort of around lunchtime, and have the afternoon to sort of chill and sort of see where I was staying if there was anything of interest to sort of check out. So it was hot, but I suppose it wouldn't have been as hot if I'd done it the month after, I guess.
Okay. And what do you like the most during your Camino?
I guess sort of meeting different people. Obviously, spending that time with my dad and then my friend was pretty special because um, it's making sort of a designated time to actually get to spend with those people. But then on the flip side of that is you get to meet all of these new people as well, and everyone is there for a reason, I guess. and sort of learning about these different people and why they chose to do the Camino just sort of helps you to resonate on what the Camino is there for. And people obviously, they vary. From some people doing it for religious purposes, health reasons. Some people are just doing it just to have a break from sort of modern society, I guess. So just learning about the different ways and reasons that the people have committed to doing such a long walk, I just found it really interesting.
Okay. And then, so you mentioned that people do the Camino for different reasons. From that people that you were walking with, uh, did anybody tell you anything in particular why they were walking the Camino or why they were there? So something that came to your attention, say, wow, that's a big reason.
I guess sort of maybe one of the greatest examples, I didn't really speak to him about why he was doing it, but there was one man that I met actually at Güemes, Albergue, and he had said that he had walked it from Holland. So he'd been walking for 3 months and had started in the Netherlands and then had sort of walked through Europe, and he was finally sort of on the final stretch of doing the Camino itself. So I guess that puts it into perspective because, there's people there. We were struggling and we'd only been doing it for 2 weeks, and he was there having done it for 3 months.
Wow. Yeah.
That was really interesting.
Yeah. And what would you say that you have learned about that experience walking the Camino?
I guess it's just that reconnecting with people and reconnecting with nature. And it definitely is something where you learn how to push yourself out of a comfort zone. I think you can so easily fall into a place where you just get comfortable, and it's nice to have sort of every so often have a reminder to just push yourself out of that, and see to remind yourself what you're capable of. That was for me what I guess I learned.
Okay. And then you are about to start a new job position, and you just came graduated from university. And what would you say that you can take from your learning on the Camino can apply on that new experience that you're about to join?
I guess it's the people skills, the communication skills, but it's also that perspective. I've seen different. I've learned from different people. I've listened to different stories. A lot of my research at university, and at some point I'd quite like to take to PhD, was focused on Indigenous voices in South America and Ecuador in particular, and sort of how we could value from listening to them more in terms of international systems. And then doing something like the Camino where you listen to different people's voices and what they have to say, and recognizing the value of actually listening to people. I think that obviously it's a completely different setting to my research, but it proved the value of listening. So I've definitely learned to take that into sort of my future professional skills and opportunities. But I guess as well, it is just the perspective of having met different people from different cultures, because obviously with the Camino del Norte, you go through Asturias, Cantabria, Galicia, and Basque County, which all have very different cultures and languages within those regions. So you get the opportunity to learn as you're walking, and then I suppose as you walk, you get to compare, you get to think about where there are differences and similarities, and it just gives you a much wider perspective on life.
Okay, and that's very good response. Would you be walking a Camino again?
I'd like to. I was debating about doing the Frances one because obviously it's the famous one. I've done the Norte, but then I did those 2 days at the end, and I don't think I was no longer intrigued. I had a friend that just a couple months before me walked the Camino Inglés, and that sounded really good. And I also had a friend that did the Portuguese, so I was kind of interested. But I guess the big one that I would like to do would be the Primitivo,
Okay.
because on the Norte you can decide to either go down the Primitivo or you can keep going on the Norte. I decided to keep going on the Norte because that's the one I was doing and I wanted to finish the Norte in full. But I definitely would like to go back to Oviedo and do the Primitivo one because I guess it was so close that I'd like to actually finish that one.
Okay. And after you return to the UK, have you talked with friends and family about your experience on the Camino?
Yeah, I kind of don't stop talking about it, and people sort of make jokes that they know that I've done it. But as I say, especially in the UK, it's not really a very well known thing. So when I do talk about it, I kind of have to explain what it is as well. But it's definitely an experience where you just can't stop talking about it. I just think there's nothing like it. And even sort of the friend that I walked with for a week, they've said that it's completely changed their perspective on their work and their life as well. So, and they're only there for a week. So even the smallest amount of the Camino is becomes infectious.
So you know that everyone who walked the Camino, after they return, they just talking about the Camino like it's the main subject, and nobody, someone that have not walked the Camino, do not understand that.
Yeah.
And it's that, but if you have a reunion with people that have walked the Camino, you can be talking forever there.
Yeah.
And I also talked with a priest in the Camino Frances. He was in Ocebreiro, that is the first town in Galicia, when you are coming from the Frances. And he say that the better ambassadors for the Camino are the pilgrims that have walked the Camino, because they understand it and they transmit that to that. And here in the US, there is an association that is called American Pilgrims on the Camino, and they are so much into it, into the Camino, that they have reunions, they have chapters in different states of the US, and they organize a meeting and a gathering in this May with a Canadian company of pilgrims that was in Vancouver. And I had the opportunity to be there, and there were about 400 people, all pilgrims, and the excitement, the talk. So everybody can talk about the same thing because everybody was a pilgrim. It was amazing. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
So I have another question for you. When you start preparing for walking the Camino, how long does that preparation take, and what consists that preparation that you did?
I guess so. I mean, the most important thing is reading and researching the Camino that you're choosing to do. What you need to pack, I guess. One of the most important things I would say to anyone considering it is don't overpack, which obviously comes up a lot when you do search up sort of things to do with the Camino. Everyone always says don't overpack, but it really is the case. And in terms of sort of physically, I don't think there's any harm in sort of starting really early with training. I tried to go, obviously, I was in Spain, so I tried to go on hikes every weekend, but
Okay.
didn't always happen. But I also sort of run and things, and so I was keeping up with fitness elsewhere, not necessarily just walking. But yeah, I just guess the more you prepare and the earlier you prepare, the more enjoyment and the more you're going to take out of the experience.
Okay. Okay. And then just we're about to end the conversation for today. And what would you say if you have to define the Camino in no more than 5 words? What would be those 5 words, and why?
There's plenty of words to describe the Camino. I guess this is it's not great, but someone told me, and it kind of stuck with me, and it's simple but effective because it is just the motto of what the Camino is. So someone told me eat, sleep, walk. That's all you do. It's just eat,
Okay.
sleep, walk.
Okay.
And it stuck with me because it just was an interesting concept for what the Camino was. So they'd be three of them, and then I would say breathtaking and community. They'd be the other two.
Okay. Okay. And why would you say that?
Um, the views, obviously, and it really is such a unique experience of meeting different people, because you might not realize it, but sometimes people are struggling and you're there on those days when they are struggling, and you might not realize sort of just how much your company when they're walking could change how they feel about the experience. um, I I enjoyed the whole experience. There was one day when I really hated every second of the day. It was hilly, it was wet, and I just was tired and I was fed up. I walked into the hostel, and some people that I had made friends with, so one of them was American, one was Costa Rican, were sat in the hostel, and I didn't know how, but somehow we'd managed to cross over at this same hostel, and I thought that I'd sort of left them, um, and wouldn't see them again, but they were there at the hostel, and it completely changed my mood. And we had a great evening, and then I ended up walking with them for about a week. So just having that community there really can change the outcome of your Camino.
Yeah, community is always very important in all the
Yeah,
aspects of life.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dan, thank you very much for your time today, and for you pilgrims. Thank you for watching us again, and please keep adding your comments on the comment sections. That way we know what other episodes we need to bring in. And buen camino, everyone.
Thank you.